Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Presutti. I'm a wheelchair user, mental health therapist, and disability advocate. I work with a lot of people with all different types of disabilities. Thank you so much for joining me in this workshop today. I'm honored to be doing this with the Abilities Expo. Now, you probably already know this, but for many people with disabilities, we have to navigate a lot of different things. We have to navigate complex healthcare systems, accommodations in school and in the workplace. We have to adapt our environments. We have to focus on redefining how we are going to fit into an able bodied world, and so on and so forth. No matter what type of disability that you may have, there are a lot of similarities in the way in which we navigate the world. It's safe to assume that we have to figure a lot of things out, learn how to problem solve, and advocate for ourselves in many ways. And if you are a wheelchair user like me, you may have experienced physical therapy or occupational therapy at some point in your life so that you can learn how to adapt your body to fit your environment. But what about our mental health? And the work that I do, one of the biggest things that I notice across the board in the disability community is that we often don't pay enough attention to our mental health. Considering all of the things that we typically have to focus on instead, like navigating barriers, securing accommodations, or whatever the case might be, it sort of makes sense that many of us may not have time or energy left over to focus on our mental health. But in this workshop today, I want to encourage you to take a few minutes here today to think about mental health and to consider how you may be able to incorporate positive mental health strategies into your life. So, to start off, let's talk about the importance of caring for our mental health. So, why is this important? While many of us with physical disabilities pay close attention to our bodies, we also have to consider our mental health because it involves our psychological, emotional, and social well being. You can think of mental health as being very comprehensive because it impacts how we feel, how we think, and how we behave every single day. One of the most important things to know about mental health is that it plays a very critical role in how we cope with stress and how we face adversity. So, for a lot of us, we're very busy. We have our daily schedules and our daily routines, and we're going about our life. And a lot of these mental health concepts, like self esteem or coping skills or our relationships with other people, these are things that are just embedded into the way that we act and the way that we feel every day. And in my practice, I work with a lot of people on slowing down and identifying their emotions and really giving the time and space to think about their mental health because I'm a therapist. But for a lot of us, including myself before I completed my training, I didn't really even think about my mental health. A lot of us in the world are so busy, wrapped up in all of our other responsibilities that we don't really have the time or maybe the energy to slow down. And this is true whether you have a disability or not. But if we neglect our mental health and if we don't pay attention to the way that we're interacting with others, how much energy we have from one day to the next, the way that we respond to stress, the way that we experience events in our lives, how we're coping with problems, if we don't pay attention to all of those things, we're more likely to experience anxiety and depression. And if we don't address those things, then those things are likely to spiral and it can give us a feeling of not being in control, or it can make us feel, in a sense, that we don't have the ability to overcome those things when they're spiraling and when we're not slowing down to really evaluate how we're doing mentally and emotionally and socially. So while physical health is always going to be important, physical health is always going to be one of our priorities, and physical health is always going to be something that many people with disabilities are going to have a lot of attention on. If you have a physical disability or a health condition where you're having medical appointments, it's always going to be pretty common for medical specialists to focus on your physical health. And that makes sense because we have to pay attention to our bodies when we have disabilities of a lot of different types. But I want to talk to you today about why mental health is also really important. And like I've already sort of alluded to here, it's important because it helps you cope with stress. It helps you navigate challenges and it helps you be successful in reaching your goals. So, if we understand mental health as being important for coping with stress and facing adversity, let's talk about how this relates to someone with a disability specifically. Well, I think about the crossover between mental health and disability and how these two areas are intersected. And I think it makes sense to say that mental health is very much related to how we manage our disabilities. Because if we have positive mental health, we are going to have more success in coping with stress related to our disability and facing the challenges that we may experience related to our disabilities. Having positive mental health will also mean that we will be more likely to develop strong support systems and have healthy relationships with others who can assist us in navigating the barriers that we are working to overcome because of our disabilities. So this makes sense, right? Because we think about, all the different complex systems that people with disabilities have to navigate. And if you're someone that is really struggling with your mental health, it's going to be hard to organize all of that information. It's going to be hard to make appointments. It's going to be hard to develop friendships. It's going to be hard to trust medical experts or recreation specialists or adaptive travel consultants. It's going to be hard to rely on all of these resources that you may want to access in your community because you may have feelings of self doubt, you may have feelings of discouragement when you're struggling with your mental health. And if you continue to have that anxiety and that depression or those feelings of self doubt, it's probably going to be internalized a little bit where you might start feeling like you're not capable of doing some really amazing things that many people with disabilities are able to do. And this really breaks my heart when I'm working with people and families affected by disabilities where they've really internalized the ableism of the community, or in other words, the oppression of the community. Unfortunately, disability is a minority. And as people in a minority, it can be very easy to start doubting their abilities and starting to listen to the wrong ableism that exists in our world. For example, sometimes ableist conversations can say things like, well, I'm not really sure if this will be possible for you. I'm really concerned about your disability and your ability to go off to college or travel internationally or get married and have kids or play sports. And that is a problem, I think, because it limits people. It limits people and it makes them feel like they may not be as capable or equal. And I'm working to dismantle some of those stereotypes and those types of ableist conversations because it really takes a toll on the mental health of people with disabilities. And that becomes internalized, and then they get held back or left on the sidelines. And I'm a big advocate for erasing that and sort of making sure that those things don't happen quite as often. And I really want to encourage you today in this workshop to think about if you have been exposed to that type of negative, limiting kind of dialogue. And if it has taken a toll on your mental health, we're going to talk about some strategies that can enhance your mental health and allow you to really define for yourself what you want your life to look like. Because when we have positive mental health, again, it makes sense that we would be more likely to manage our disabilities. When we have positive mental health, it makes sense that we would not be swayed by some of that limiting dialogue or some of those barriers that we face in the community. It's okay to feel disappointed or discouraged by them, But if we have strong mental health or positive mental health, then we are going to be more likely to have resiliency and have a strong support system and have people in our corner that believe in ourselves. And we're going to be more likely to believe in ourselves for our own authentic strengths and our qualities and all of the things about ourselves that can be celebrated. So we can avoid feeling shame and we can avoid feeling isolated. And we can start really dreaming big and having better goals and high expectations and doing everything that we can do in our power to lead the best, most fulfilling lives that we can. So today, I'm going to share some real strategies with you that have been proven to enhance mental health. And specifically, I'll address how you can really take advantage of these strategies so that you can feel empowered in your identity as a person with a disability. First, I want to encourage you to build a strong support system. For many of us with disabilities, talking with other people who share similar challenges can be a huge source of comfort and relief. If you go to school or work in an office where you might be the only person with a disability, you may experience feeling misunderstood from time to time, which can take a toll on your mental health. And that makes sense because if you're the only one that experiences the reality that you face, it may be hard for you to always relate to other people who don't experience the same challenges as you. Not to say that you can't have strong, positive relationships with your community that may be all able bodied, but the point is that if you never have any interaction with other people with disabilities, it may be hard to feel like you're represented in the world, or it may be hard to feel like you have a community of people that 100% always naturally understand your life specifically as someone with a disability. So, when you develop a strong support system that includes other people in the disability community, you may experience positive mental health benefits, like being able to talk really openly and really authentically about your life with a disability. You may be able to learn from others who have been in your exact shoes once before. You may be able to access tools and resources from other people with similar disabilities. And you may feel better knowing that you have a safe place where you can talk to people about your disability experiences without ever feeling judged. All of these things can lead you to feel more empowered. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that you are in college trying to navigate some accommodations that you need. Or maybe you're starting your first job and you're really unsure how to navigate a workplace accommodation. Or maybe you want to go on a trip and you're not sure how to make some accessible travel arrangements. Whatever the case might be, if you have a strong support system that includes other people with similar disabilities, you have a whole collection of people and resources that you can rely on. And you can ask your community what advice or what guidance they would give you if they've been through similar things like that. And I do this all the time when I have to overcome something related to my disability that I have never done before. And I'm feeling almost at a loss of what to do or how to proceed. I rely on my support system of other people that use wheelchairs like me, or other people that have a form of muscular dystrophy like me, so that I can ask them for some tips and guidance on how to overcome something that I'm facing. And all of this helps me feel more empowered. And I see this happen all the time in my work when other people are exposed to other families and communities that include people with similar disabilities. It's almost like coming up for fresh air. They have a sense that they belong there, that they feel understood there. And even if it's only an online community, because I recognize that we may not all live in geographic areas where there's a lot of other people with disabilities. But even if it's an online community, that can speak volumes for getting access to others in your situation. Or what I'm trying to say is that it can really go a long way. It can really make a big difference for your life, even if it's online. Now more than ever, it's easy to have things in place like video conferencing and text messaging or phone calls or however it is that you like to communicate via technology. So, building a support system within the disability community is a great way. One example in future years might be attending the Abilities Expo in person to expand your disability network and make new connections. But also look into things in your local community. Look into things regionally. See if there's any disability events in your area. You may be surprised by the number of people that you're able to meet. Next, stay active. Remaining active in the community is not only a great way to build that strong support system, but it also provides you with opportunities to try new things that you may have never tried before. If you haven't already discovered adaptive recreation, I really want to encourage you to look for opportunities in your community to get involved in recreation that can be adapted to meet your needs. Chances are that there will be some adaptive recreation opportunities in your local community. But if you are finding it to be difficult to access recreation programming that is suitable for your needs, I want to encourage you to go online, watch YouTube videos about adaptive recreation, read blogs and other online articles, join community forums online to post questions about how to make things that you want to do accessible for you. Because of the pandemic and the rise in technology, like I mentioned with building a support system, it's now easier than ever to access information online and to connect with people who may be able to teach you strategies for making recreation more accessible for you. This directly connects to mental health because research has shown that staying active, getting outdoors, and engaging in recreation has a direct impact on positive mental health. And who knows, you may discover that you love downhill skiing in the winter, hand cycling in the summer, horseback riding, or wheelchair soccer. Anything like that can be possible for you. New discoveries like this can help many people feel empowered and lead to better mental health overall. Another strategy for positive mental health when you have a disability is making sure that you have your voice heard. For many of us with disabilities, it can sometimes feel like other people are speaking for us. Whether they are teachers, healthcare professionals, employers, or other community leaders. How many of you have ever thought to yourself, why are these people talking about what I need without including me in that conversation? This is especially true for children and for young adults. I remember being a teenager even and having different adults talk about what they believed would be best for me, but not include me in that conversation. And so one of the best strategies that I believe can be really good for positive mental health when you have a disability is to amplify your voice. Make your voice heard. And that can be very much a day-to-day thing, like learning how to be assertive. If you struggle with this, maybe work with a counselor or personal coach of some kind who can teach you some skills for being assertive and how to speak up. And most importantly, how to self-advocate. Self-advocacy is so important for people with disabilities. And the power of sharing your own story, whether through day-to-day conversations or starting an online blog or a YouTube channel, or even writing articles in your local newspaper about disability, identity, awareness, and things that you want the able-bodied community to know about disability, can lead many people to feeling like they have a loud voice and can help them feel like they have more power and they're like in control. Sometimes it can feel really discouraging when you have a disability and you feel the impacts of being part of a minority. But speaking up and having your voice heard can guard against those negative feelings, and it can really help you feel more empowered. So don't be afraid to share your story. Next, practicing positive affirmations. When you start to feel discouraged because of a disability, can really be helpful for refocusing yourself and reminding yourself that disability is only one part of your life. These are just a few examples on this slide of positive affirmations that may be helpful during moments of stress. So, this is really useful when you've had a bad day, or when something doesn't go as planned, or when you've been fighting for something like access to something or to overcome something that doesn't really work out the way that you planned it to. Reminding yourself that you have value and that you're strong and that you're capable can help guard against feelings of self-doubt or discouragement. So you may find yourself wanting to remind yourself of statements like this: I know that I am strong and capable. I know that I am worthy and loved. My feelings are temporary. These feelings will pass. Nobody else can make me feel inferior. I am proud of myself and everything that I have accomplished. I have overcome things in the past, and I know I can get through this too. There are many more positive affirmations that you may find helpful. And you can also get creative with these and develop some statements that are specifically about you and your experiences. One of my favorites is, I decide my own life. I define my own expectations, and I am in control. That one can be especially useful for many people with disabilities because for a lot of us, it can feel like other people or societal expectations are making decisions about what we're capable of. So saying to yourself, I am in charge, I get to make decisions about my life, can be really helpful when you're feeling a little bit let down in the moment. Whether you have a disability or not, every single person can work on developing positive mental health through practicing self-care. There's a lot of information on social media sites and in other forms of media today about self-care. Practicing self-care means doing things for yourself that are going to help you feel better. It's about doing things that are going to help alleviate some negative stress or energy inside of you. Self-care can look very differently for different people, depending on what activities you find to be the most helpful in relieving your stress. As I said, there's a lot of information about self-care on Instagram, Facebook, and other sites today. So you can follow these pages and get daily ideas for self-care, daily tips. You can get 100 ideas for self-care by a simple Google search. These are just a few on the slide. Calling a friend, listening to music, taking a break, getting fresh air, taking a hot shower, doing some yoga, or journaling. Self-care can really be defined as anything that helps you take care of yourself in the moment when feeling stressed. It may be as simple as taking a few moments to do some deep breathing and relax. Or it may be as messy as baking a 3-level cake in your kitchen. Many people feel empowered when engaging in self-care activities because it means that you are taking control of your mental health and allowing yourself the time and space to do something that can elicit feelings of joy or relaxation. Finally, my last strategy here for positive mental health when you have a disability is to normalize your feelings, whatever they may be, and allow yourself to feel a wide range of emotions. I want to encourage you to reject the stereotype that says people with disabilities have to be strong all the time, because that's not true. Unfortunately, this is a stereotype in the world that we live in because sometimes non-disabled people may think of individuals with disabilities as being inspirational or brave for being strong and happy all the time. We especially see this stereotype portrayed in the media. But what I want you to remember is that You don't have to be portrayed or objectified as being strong, inspirational, brave, perfect, high achieving all the time, because that's not realistic. It's normal to have a wide range of emotions. It's okay to feel sad, discouraged, or disappointed when you are faced with a disability related challenge. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve the loss of an ability. And it's okay to talk openly about your difficult experiences with trusted family, friends, your support system, or a mental health counselor. Having a wide range of feelings, both positive and negative, is really healthy. It's going to lead to more balanced mental health overall, and it's okay to express yourself however you feel. Remember to always reach out for help from a trusted adult or mental health professional if you feel like you are struggling with symptoms of anxiety, depression, or any other mental health concerns. I want you to live your best life. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I am so grateful to the Abilities Expo for including me here. And now I would love to answer any questions that you may have.